Hello and welcome to a brand new series here on the TomFM channel. Welcome to Inter Miami Live. So unless you've been living under a rock for the past few years, you'll be very well aware that David Beckham had the chance to have his own MLS franchise. And here it is. This is the club that he made. The official name for the club is Club Internacional de Futbol Miami, which, just for short, Inter Miami. It's very similar to Inter Milan, I suppose, in a way. But it's been called this to reach out to the Hispanic people and diasporas in Miami itself to try and gain some very early support and things like that. But this is David Beckham's new side. And he gave me a call and he said, "Tom, can you please be the manager?" Now, obviously, we haven't quite finished things up with Grasshoppers in the Hop to a Top save. But I said to him, "Look, mate, David, seriously, I want to take the job so I can do both at the same time for a short period of time. We'll finish off Hop to the Top in the next week or so, and then I'll get properly into Inter Miami. Don't worry, David, I'm here to save you." He said, "Absolutely fantastic, Tom. Thank you ever so much for that. I'll give you 14.25k per week to be the new manager of the club." So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I'll do it for those pennies. That's fine. And so here we are at Inter Miami, ready to take on a new save. Now, this save is going to be a little bit different. You'll notice in the title, we have live, okay? Now, already you've seen this isn't live because it's a YouTube video, it's not on Twitch. The whole point of this is I'm trying to record it as if I was live streaming it, and it is going to be live, and we're going to show every single game across the entire season, okay? Now, you've already seen some jump cuts in today's video because, one, I'm not very good at the whole doing everything in one cut sort of thing. I don't think anyone can really properly do that. So there will be a few cuts in here every now and again. But in today's episode especially, there are going to be quite a lot of cuts, as I will explain later on. But the general premise of this series is it's going to be slightly different to how I normally record videos. Rather than being like a 20-minute video where we show two games and I play a few games off camera and then come back for two games, this we are going to do every single MLS game on camera, which I think is going to be really exciting and different. We're going to do one entire season rather than doing loads of seasons. I just think one season is a little bit better because the MLS rules are ridiculously confusing. We'll try and talk about a few of them later on in today's episode, but it's very hard to get your head around. So we're going to do one full season showing every single game. You're with me every step of the journey, and hopefully come the end of the season, we might have a chance of winning the MLS playoffs. So first things first, we're going to jump straight into this, and obviously I've been appointed as the boss, as you've probably read on this a couple times already. Next screen then, here we go. Inter Miami. We are playing in the new Lockhart Stadium, which is an 18,000 capacity stadium. They're moving into a purpose-built one very, very soon. I think they've been trying to get playing permission for a long time. They will move into it in the next few years or so, but for now, they're playing in the new Lockhart Stadium, which isn't in Miami. It's in Fort Lauderdale, about 30 miles north of Miami, so it's a little bit weird still. They are 3-star current reputation, which is fairly interesting, and obviously not really much history or club background whatsoever because it's a brand new club. If we go to the next page, you'll see that these are the players that we've got so far. Now, I waited until the winter transfer update to start this save because then it would actually populate the squad with some players. If we'd used the database from the very start of Football Manager, I think we would have had maybe like 2 or 3 players in the squad. They've built the squad up this past year or so, and here we go. This is apparently the best starting 11 that we've got. We've actually got some players that I've heard of before. I've definitely heard of Robles in goal. I've heard of Will Trapp. That's about it, if I'm being honest with you. So we've heard of 2 players at least in this squad. We'll meet more of the squad later on in today's episode. There is a brief, I suppose, club philosophy here, although there's not really much for us to do. Sign young players to develop for profit, sign high reputation players. That's kind of what we've got to do. That's what the board are asking for. Because we're only doing one season, though, we're not really going to be focusing too much on this whatsoever. So we'll put this to the back burner for now. And so here we are in the game, ready to get going on our journey with Inter Miami this season. I've taken charge of Miami, brilliant stuff. A player's contract is already up for expiry, which seems very strange because we have to start this in 2019. Okay, now this is part of the way Football Manager works. The start of the season is in February, which is a little bit strange because the MLS season goes through summer rather than going around summer like pretty much every other league in the world. America just has to be different, obviously, clearly. So as it stands right now, we are on the 25th of February 2019. We don't start in the MLS as Inter Miami until 2020, the 2020 season. So essentially, we've got a year of doing absolutely nothing. And this is why there's going to be quite a few cuts in today's episode, because I'm going to simulate through this year. And what I'm going to do is organise friendlies every single week. So we've actually got players playing games. We're not just doing nothing for a year. But I'm going to simulate that year and then come back for the start of the 2020 season at the start, or towards the end of this episode, I should say. But it does seem very strange that we've already got a player who should be out of contract when we shouldn't really have any players at all yet, technically speaking, which seems a little odd. Either way, tactics, we're going to talk about that right now. This is where we get a little bit complicated. The MLS has really weird rules. Now, they have well, it's not a weird rule, it's a salary cap. That's, salary cap is a normal thing in a lot of different leagues. The thing is, the MLS is trying to make itself one of the best leagues in the world, and yet the general salary and the annual budget for salary is less than that of championship clubs. So if they want to become the best in the world, they probably have to increase that a little bit. So the maximum you can pay a player, it says here, is £8,000 per week. Okay, so that's for some of your best players. Other players get paid less. We'll look at the contract screen in a minute or so, but there is a rule excluding this. Now, this was brought in essentially so David Beckham can move to the MLS back whenever he moved. But you can have 3 designated players in your squad who don't contribute to the salary cap. And that's why you get players like Kaká and Ibrahimovic coming to the MLS, because they can get paid whatever they want, essentially, which does mean that there is quite a lot of disparity. I did a bit of research before this, and I think it was the 2015 season, 21% of MLS wages. So every single club, all right, the entire MLS, 21% of the wages paid by every single club went to 5 players, because they were the 5 designated players that were on massive amounts of money, which does show there's a big disparity in wages, but this salary cap is brought in so they can bring in these big players, and we are going to try and abuse that at some point. But that's just the first bit. That's probably the easiest bit to understand. You've got salary caps and players are on limited wages and things like that, and you get some players with loads of wages. That's the easiest bit to understand. We'll get into some more complicated bits a bit later on. First of all, though, we are going to have a look at our squad. Now, this is the players that have been assembled for the start of the 2020 season. Because we've got the transfer update, it's just in the game right now that they're at the club, which is quite good for us. We don't have to do any transfers ourselves. Let's sort it by ability and have a look at who is the best player at the club. That is Rodolfo Pizarro, who is a designated player because he's on £35,000 per week. So let's have a quick look at him then. He is an attacking midfield in the middle or on the left-hand side, can play either one of those positions, so looks pretty good. He's got relatively decent attributes, I've got to say. Off the ball is very good at 16. Physicals are maybe not quite what they should be to be a winger. Maybe he's more of an attacking midfielder, centre and things like that. But has got good technical and mentals, on a decent contract as well. Where's he played recently then? All over Mexico. He's a Mexican player, clearly. So played at Monterrey, Chivas, Pachua, all over the place. Seems to be doing quite well for himself. So Rodolfo Pizarro, he is our best player according to the screen right now. Hopefully, he actually does really well for us this season. The next best player in the side is Will Trapp. Now, I have heard of Will Trapp before. Now, he is a CDM or central midfielder, so that's quite good. We've got nice versatility there. Clearly been at the Columbus Crew before, because it says club trained at Columbus Crew, so obviously just come to Inter Miami for this particular season. 4-star current ability, which looks pretty good to me. Again, Columbus Crew, his entire season. You'll see here, trade. This is another weird thing about the MLS. Transfers are just really weird, and I've never been able to get my head around them. Now, if you're an OG of the channel, you'll remember that a long time ago in FM17, I did an MLS save with Minnesota United, and I think we did it for 2 or 3 seasons, and we actually ended up winning the MLS Cup in there. But I just could never get my head around the transfers, because you don't buy players with money. You trade them for other players, or you trade your draft picks and things. It's just weird, all right? You can't actually go and say, see, look, if you look here, Will Trapp is valued at £2.6 million. Unless they are outside of America, and another American club in the MLS can't come to us and say, we want to buy him for £2.6 million. They have to say, we're going to trade him. It just seems weird. I don't quite understand it, if I'm honest with you, but it's one of those things. Next up, though, is Nicolas Figal. He is a centre-back, also 4-star current ability. So we've got 3 good players in 3 key positions, I would say. Argentinian centre-back. Looks pretty menacing, I've got to say, as well. Decent physicals, decent mentals. Technicals for a defender are actually relatively good, I've got to say. Usually it's just like a tackling, a heading and a marking. That's kind of what you only see there. But he's a ball-playing defender, which is quite nice. So hopefully he'll be quite good for us. He's been at Independiente his entire career, apart from one loan move. So obviously this is a bit of a big one for him. Either way, he looks pretty decent. So I'm expecting big things from Figal and hopefully keeping us plenty of clean sheets. We've also got plenty of other good players with 3.5-star current ability. We'll meet them as we go through the series and things like that. But if we search it by potential, we've got 2 players who are currently out on loan, both 18 years old, do have 5-star potential. And this one, he's on £11,000 per week, so I think he might be a designated player. Matias Pellegrini, he is a left winger. Okay, so we'll probably play him on the left wing, and we'll play Pizarro on the centre attacking midfield role. He's currently on loan at Estudiantes. I presume he's been there his entire career, then came to us and been back on loan for this particular season. He looks all right, doesn't he? He doesn't look too bad. 5-star potential. We will take that most definitely. How good is he meant to be in the future? It doesn't really give us much of an indication as to how good his potential could be. I don't know, I'm not sure. Contract though, let's have a quick look at this. Contract info. He is a young designated player. I don't know if there's a difference between a designated player and a young designated player. I don't know. But either way, he counts towards our designated player slot. So that's 2 designated players we've got. I think they are the only 2 designated players we've got though. So we do have an ability to bring in a third one if we want to. The other guy with 5-star potential though is Julian Carranza, an Argentinian player on loan at Banfield. Interestingly, in Argentina. Banfield, I swear it's an Irish side, I'm not entirely sure, but we bought him for £4.7 million apparently at 18 years old, which is quite a lot of money. David Beckham has been forking out the cash clearly, but he is a striker, and I would imagine be our starting striker this season if he's got that 5-star potential. We want to get him playing quite quickly, get him into that first team, get him improving. So that is probably what we'll be doing at some point. So there's a handful of players for you to meet very quickly, and I say we'll meet more of them later on in today's episode. Now, before I get into explaining much more, I think what I want to do is arrange some friendlies, and then I'll simulate through to the start of the season, basically, or the next season, and we can start to talk about a few different things and a few more specific rules about the MLS, and start to get into this series as a whole. So I'll see you in just a moment's time. And so here I am, back once again. It's now the 13th of December 2019, so I've simulated through the entire MLS season. Atlanta United won it, if you're interested, for their second season in a row, so there we go. But I've stopped on the 13th of December, which is here, because I've just noticed that there's a few things coming up which I'm not entirely sure what it means. Okay, so we're on the 13th of December. 16th of December, there's a waiver draft. I'm not entirely sure what that is. We'll find out. Then on the 17th, there's an expansion draft. And again, I'm not entirely sure what that is. And then there's these various re-entry drafts. Again, not a clue what they mean, but we will endeavour to find out as this episode goes on. If you're interested, if we go to fixtures, we played loads of friendlies. We had one every single week. Every Thursday, I put a friendly out there. And we won quite a lot of them, I've got to say. But most of the friendlies were against clubs that no one's ever heard of. They're really low-ranked clubs, so we should have beaten them. Around summer, we started to get some European and South American sides who are on their summer breaks and things like that to try and play and have a test against them. We did well in a couple of these friendlies. Not that I managed any of these friendlies. I just did my assistant manager do it because I holidayed all of it, didn't I? But I was pretty pleased with results against America and Flamenco. 3-0 wins and a 1-0 win there. We also picked up draws with Salzburg and Monaco, which I thought was quite good. And Anderlecht as well, but did have some heavy losses to Lazio and Bayer Leverkusen. But for the most part, it doesn't seem like we were outclassed in any of these games particularly. We did lose 1-0 to Montreal Impact as well, but we did beat FC Cincinnati, who are both MLS sides. So that's maybe indicative of how we might be able to do this particular season. But overall, pretty pleased with that. The players are currently on their actual mid-season break, or end-of-season break, I suppose. That's what they've been on. So they're all on holiday apparently right now, as you can see, all on holiday. A few players have improved, I've got to say. I think some players also have declined a little bit. If we sort it by ability, we still have these 3 players who are the 4-star and 4.5-star current ability. But we look at potential, those 5-star potential players are already starting to decline a little bit, which is slightly worrying, but they have improved their current ability from 3 stars to 3.5 stars. So that's quite good for us at the start of this next season. So I suppose what I'm going to do is just keep playing through. We'll get to this waiver draft in a couple of days' time, and we'll sort of see what it is. Expansion draft. I feel like because in this 2020 season, I think it's Nashville and us joining the MLS, I feel like we have our own personal draft or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, if I'm honest with you. Not entirely sure. I don't quite know. But what I think before we get into the draft is to see Atlanta United beat Seattle to the MLS Cup. What we do before this, and everyone's proposing trades with us right now, which I don't really understand. LA Galaxy want to trade for Alves Powell. Okay, let's view the offer. They're just giving us draft picks, all right, but I don't really want the draft picks. And international slots. What's an international slot? I don't know. I'm just going to reject all of these because everyone seems to want Alves Powell. And because everyone seems to want Alves Powell at the moment, what we're going to do is click on him, although actually a few other teams want some other players instead. We'll reject those too, but Powell, all right. He's a right back from Jamaica who automatically has 16 pace because he's Jamaican probably. 3.5-star current ability, so looks pretty decent, I've got to say. Where did he come from? He came from Cincinnati of all clubs and was at Portland before that, so has played quite a lot in the MLS and clearly is a decent player because every club wants him. 54 caps for Jamaica as well. I think he could be integral to the side this season. Now, if we head back over, we've got to select players for the draft. What is this? 8 players have been selected for the MLS Waiver Draft. Oh, so we don't pick players, as in other players have been picked for the draft and we choose if we want them, I suppose. And I suppose at this point we go to the draft, but before we do that, we have to sort of have a look and see where we are weak in the squad. So if we look at position overview, current ability, okay, so we've got 2 great strikers, apparently. We've got 2 great attacking midfield left, 2 great attacking midfield centres. That's brilliant, okay. We don't need to worry about these positions. We have no great attacking midfielders on the right, though, so that's potentially a position we could look to try and get in the draft. Only 1 great centre mid, so again, another centre mid wouldn't go amiss. 1 great centre back, we could do with another one. No great left backs, we could do with one of those. And no great keepers, apparently, so we could do with one of those. So ideally, we're looking for keepers, left backs, centre backs, midfielders, and right wingers. Okay, that's what we're looking for primarily, I would be saying. So heading back to the news then, let's view this draft. And, I mean, I've not been told about this, okay? So I've not been able to scout any of these players out, okay? The thing is, this guy here, this guy here, this guy here, all right? I can't pronounce any of their names. Toby, Tim, and Hosu, they are left backs and centre backs. So we could probably prioritise these players maybe, but I've not been told about them before, so I've not scouted them out. So they could be absolutely terrible. The thing as well is, where are we on this list? So obviously Vancouver have that first pick. Where are we? When do we... There are 52 picks in the draft. You have 2 picks. We are 26th overall and 52nd, so we're right at the back, essentially, which isn't great. If we just, I mean, is anyone actually taking, they're all passing their picks, okay. They're all passing them, which probably means that none of these players are any good. Okay, so when we get to our pick, which is here, where are we? Okay, right, here we go. 26th, let's ask assistant manager. Assistant's pick, he says none of the players are good enough and wouldn't improve the squad. So maybe we shouldn't be going for these players. Like, we literally know nothing about them, do we? Let's just quickly compare him with... Who's our good centre-back? What's he called? He's called... I can't remember his name now. Nicholas Figal, all right? Okay, he's nowhere near Nicholas Figal, this guy, Toby. So maybe we don't pick him. But it's tricky, isn't it? I mean, we could always... Do we have a limit on the amount of players in the squad? I don't know. This is, again, not a clue. If we look at... How do we click? We can't see registered players. How many players are we allowed to have? So there's a maximum of 30 players in the squad. Other than that, though, I can't really see anything else saying... So 30 players is what we have to have. How many players have we got here? There probably is 30 or so there. But we do have a lot of room in the wage budget, I believe. If we... Look, we've got a wage budget of £433,000 per week. I'm only spending 138 of it. So surely we just pick some players and see what happens? Maybe? I mean, should we just get him anyway? Toby, or how good's Tim? Is Tim any better? Tim's got some good aggression, so maybe we can do that. If we also compare him with let's compare him with Toby. Toby's better. I fit. Well, maybe, I don't know. We don't really know much about Tim's speed, vision, or attacking. Physical, he's not as good. Defending, he's slightly better. Oh, which one do we pick? Toby's got a face, so let's pick Toby, okay? Toby's got a face. Let's just pick him and see what happens, okay? Draft him. Yeah, let's pick him out, lad. We've got him. For our next pick, we also want Soto. So let's just pick Soto and see if they're any good or not, okay? So the news comes through. Soto's not very good. And neither's Tim. All right, so that was probably a waste of time, if I'm being honest with you. And he's automatically been given a contract as well. Only £850 per week, though, so it's not too much. We can always just not pick them. I suppose, just not register them, maybe. That might be something. The expansion draft, then, is tomorrow. But again, I've not scouted out these players. I've not been told anything about these players. So how am I meant to... All right, Hinderman, he's meant to be quite good, isn't he? Isn't he at Bournemouth? Yeah, I feel like Hinderman could be a good pick. Let's pick Hinderman then, all right, because he's come through in this expansion draft. I mean, maybe a few of these players are okay. How many picks do we get? All right, do we get 5 picks? That's sick. Okay, right. Now this is a bit complicated. I want Hinderman first. All right, let's try and find Hinderman if we can find him. We might have to just add a condition name. HYD. Search. Why is he not coming up? H. No? Okay, let's... oh, is he there? Oh, let's... Again, this is just a little bit strange. I'm not entirely sure. HY. There we go. Hindman. Not Hinderman. Hindman. Yes, I want to pick him, please. He is disabled, apparently. What is this? Included in disabled list. Returning available for roster. I've not a clue what that means, but we're going to pick him anyway. Thank you very much, Hindman. Now, because there are like a ridiculous amount of players in this draft, what I'm going to assume is that this news article is telling me that these are the best ones, essentially. So I'll have a quick look through. Palacios is left wing back, which... Oh, actually, Palacios looks well good. He's 4-star current ability. Let's get Palacios in for our next pick then. All right. I mean, we'll click scout players, but I'm not quite sure what's going to do. View draft. See next pick. They've gone for not Palacios, which is fine. So we are going to find Palacios again. Name... Pal, come on, he's got to come up under Palacios. Diego Palacios, this is the chap we want as a left wing back. We can always have a wing back formation. What does that I mean? International, non-domestic, I don't care. Draft him in. We're getting Palacios into the squad. Brilliant stuff. Our next pick then, who should that be? As we go back to assignments are finished. Okay, that's a bit weird. Aaron Long, he's a good centre back. Aaron Long, why? There's so many good players. So many good players. Aaron Long, we want him. This guy we don't know much about. Aaron Long is the next pick for us, though, unless he's already been picked by Nashville. I don't think he has. They picked Milton, so let's see our next pick. They've picked someone else. We wanted Long. Was he called Long? Name Long, please. Long. Come on, then. Aaron Long. You love to see it. Let's get Aaron Long into the side. Draft him in. You love to see it. Who's next, then? Who's next on this? Assignment finished? Okay. Why does it keep saying that? I don't know. Anyway, Thomas Martinez, we don't need an attacking midfielder. That's fine. Beric is a striker who I feel like could be quite good. I feel like I might have heard of him. Another left back. Milton's already been picked, though, which is a little bit frustrating. Mana is a right winger. We'll get Mana into the side next time around. So let's go back to the draft. Unless, of course, Nashville pick him. See your next pick. They've picked Juan Pablo Torres, who actually I think is a good player. I think I might have heard of him before, but there's probably loads of Pablo Torreses or something like that. What was he called again, the guy that we want to get into the side? Go back to the news article. We wanted Mana in the squad, didn't we? Let's get Mana in here then. Man. Come on then, find him. Mana, that's the one we want. Click on him, and why can't we draft him in? He's been drafted already. Oh, Nashville got him. I completely missed that. You hate to see that. That is absolutely terrible because we need a right winger. In that case, then, Tolo is a left back. We could do with another left back maybe. Torres has been picked as well. And Boateng is a left winger that we don't really need. So, this is now where it gets a little bit tricky. Do we just pick the left back? Should we get Tolo in as well? Let's get Tolo in just for another left back in case one guy that we got isn't great or something like that. So we'll get Tolo. But after that, we have to then find our own players, essentially. So Tolo, let's get you in, lad. Draft him in. And then, have we only got one more pick after this? We've got Tolo, so we've got one more pick. Okay. Ideally, we need a right winger, don't we? So, we're going to go for position, and we're going to go at attacking midfielder right. Unfortunately, he was picked. We can get a Scottish guy in. Gary, is he any good? Where's he been before? He's been at New York City. Didn't play a single game for them, though, apparently, so maybe he's not that good. Matthias Jorgensen. Why have I heard of that name before? Because there must be a Jorgensen in the Premier League. Again, he played for New York City last year, but didn't play very well, so that's a little bit frustrating. This is the thing. We haven't got any of these players scouted out, which is slightly annoying. Salazar, he looks like he's got a bit of pace on him. He's a winger, contracted to Houston, They played 9 games last year for Houston. It's been all over the place, but I don't know if he's any good or not. Josh Perez, American, a bit of pace on him, inverted winger. Do we want an inverted winger, though? Played for LAFC last season quite a lot, and they've got a good side, so perhaps he is a decent player. Not that I know anything about him. Josh Perez, why can't we draft him? Why can't I click draft on Josh Perez? He's currently on a senior... Why can't we pick him? Why? What's going on here? Why can't we pick anyone? We can pick Sapong. We can't pick Salazar or anyone else. Why can't we pick anyone? We can pick this guy, he's 34, Brazilian. Probably not the best player to pick, really. Has been at Philadelphia the past few seasons. Let's not pick him because he's getting on quite a bit. We don't want an old player joining the squad. There's only some players we can pick and other players that I'm very confused by this. I think then, in that case, CJ Sapong, he's right at the top. Played at Chicago last season and Philadelphia. He knows the MLS inside out, plays regularly, so must be a decent player. CJ, you're the final pick. Pick that. Nashville have picked their next player, and that's the draft completed. So have we actually signed anyone decent? That's the big question now going into all of this. Assignment finish, we don't care about that. So we picked Palacios, attacking fullback, 3.5-star current ability with a good bit of potential. That's a good pick. We picked up Aaron Long, a centre-back who looks fantastic with 4.5-star current ability. He will be quite good. Sapong, not quite. He's a striker. What's that about? No, he's not. He's a winger. He's a wide target man. I sort of missed looking at that bit. He's only 2.5-star current ability. That's not great, if I'm honest with you. Hinsman, seriously, I thought he was class. I thought he was a great player. Only 3-star current ability. I feel a bit let down by that. And then Tolo, 2.5-star, not the greatest. But we have got some more players. Dallas now wants... They were interested in the trade involving Luis Robels, our goalkeeper, and Roman Torres. Why do they want 2 of our players? See, this doesn't make sense. They want 2 of our players for a 15th pick in the draft. No, that just doesn't sit right with me whatsoever. And again, I'm just going to reject every trade. I just don't understand how it works. So now coming up in the next few days, there's a re-entry draft. That's why there's so many drafts in this. I just don't quite understand it, if I'm honest with you. It just seems really weird and complicated, but we'll go for it anyway. Cincinnati want more trades that we're not interested in. New York want trades that we're not interested in. Everyone wants a trade. New York are inquiring about a trade. Reject it. We're not trading with any of you because we're a closed shop, okay? We are Donald Trump FC. We've put the wall up and no one's allowed in or out because I don't want to let anyone out. Players can come in, that's fine. We've done the drafts, haven't we? I'm just going to ignore all these transfer requests now or trade requests because they're just getting on me a little bit. And we've missed the re-entry draft, stage 1. So clearly we're not in this, I presume. Like, that just seems a little strange. We're in some drafts, but not all drafts. Some guys want some guy on loan again. We can't have him. This is the guy we want on as our striker, so he's not going on loan again. Reject that. Estudiantes want him on loan again. We don't want him going out on loan again. So, again, ignore some more trades. Not in the re-entry draft. What is going on here? I think there is a big draft that we are part of at some point, but I'm not entirely sure when that is, if I'm honest with you. So, what I'm going to do is... Oh, is this it? No, this is more trades. Okay, right. Now this is a little bit interesting. 196 players have been selected for the MLS Superdraft, which takes place on the 16th of January. 72 will take place in the MLS Draft Combine, which starts on the 10th of January. Okay. One of my scouts has assessed all the players involved and recommends taking a look at this player, Jacob Anderson, who is a striker, who is 21 years old. Doesn't look brilliant, if I'm honest with you. So maybe we're not too interested in him. Just scout the one player. No, I want to scout every player, please. Can we not click on all of them? That would be very handy if we could just click on all of them. We can't. That's really annoying. Can we sort it by reputation or something like that? General? Is reputation there? Reputation? No, apparently not. Okay, in that case, I'm just going to go through very quickly and just click on get scout report for every player. So then we've got a bit of an idea of who we might be able to get at some point. So I'll just do this very quickly. See you in a moment's time. Okay, so all those players are scouted, and then these 4 Generation Adidas players. And again, not really sure what this means. Can we see if these guys are any good? That guy's not very good, is he? This guy is not very good either, but he's a right winger, so maybe we can get him in the squad if we are desperate. Brian Vickers, again, he didn't look very good, does he? The striker. He's the one that we got told about before. Now it's Jacob Anderson. Brian Vickers not very good. And Sarah is also a left back, but doesn't look very good. So I'm not quite sure what Generation Adidas is meant to mean, but either way, we'll find out, won't we? As all these players are going to be scouted out. What I'm going to do then is sort of just simulate through and play through until the 10th, when I think the draft is coming in we'll see either way. I'm not sure, but I'll see in a moment's time. Okay, so a few things have come up which are just, I'm not quite sure what it all means, all right? So we've been given £3 million of allocation money. I don't know what that means. And then we've been given targeted allocation money, which again, don't know what that means. You sign high-profile players. But again, we've got a transfer budget of £3 million. Maybe that is what we have to spend. That's not much at all, is it, really? £3 million. Okay. General allocation money is being given to some players because they exceed salary caps. I'm not quite sure. We can buy an extra designated player slot, which I have done. I'm not sure if that's right or not, but I've bought an extra designated player spot. And then we've got the draft first round mock picks, which again, not entirely sure what this is meant to mean. I think the draft is just predicting who we're going to pick, essentially. And apparently we are predicted to pick this guy who looks rubbish, and we will not be picking him whatsoever. And we've been given £2.79 million in TV money. But then, what's this about? Inter Miami had the option of forming a new second club to compete in Division 1 from next season. I didn't know this was even a thing, but you know what I'm going to do? We're going to accept that. So there we go. Dallas want more trades with us, reject those trades. It's all very complicated. This is the season's now ticking over. So this, I think, is we've got Inter Miami 2, which is a whole different club, apparently, with a guy in the squad already, which seems very strange. And he's transfer listed. Not a clue about that whatsoever. Inter Miami 2, a background. There's nothing there at all. And someone is not happy about being dropped from a squad. Kevin Trapp, can you sort this out? Will Trapp, sorry, can you sort this out for me? I think he has done, maybe. So our fixture list has actually been confirmed. Here's the fixture list. It's nothing like real life, unfortunately. So tomorrow we're going to do the first few games of this season, starting off with Real Salt Lake. So it doesn't quite marry up with what we've got in real life with LAFC playing against Inter Miami. It doesn't quite marry up, but it's good enough for me, I suppose. Now, we've not really spoken about the league structure yet, and I'm going to wait to do that for tomorrow's episode because, again, it's just stupidly complicated, so we'll talk about that tomorrow. In the meantime, I'm just getting so many trades being offered to me, which I'm not interested in. We're going to try and just go through to the 10th now, and hopefully get a good draft picks. I don't know. The 10th is when it said some draft into it, but there's nothing there. So again, I don't know. I'll get to a 10th and update you. If not, the 16th, I think it was, something like that. Okay. This is what the MLS Draft Combine is. Essentially, it's just putting some players through some tests, which doesn't really matter at all, I don't think, because I've scouted them out. I know how fast he is, so you don't need to do a speed test. I know how fast you are. I'm not too fussed about that. So I suppose it's just a scouting thing, really. But, you know, Stephen Garner, perhaps he's a good player to sign because he's got some good agility. Again, it doesn't really make that much sense to me, if I'm being honest with you. So I'm not entirely sure, but we'll just keep going. The 16th is not far away. That's when they have to play games against each other. Team Tango, Team X, Team Predator, Team Nemesis, which is spelt wrong, which really frustrates me. So I'll just move on from that. The Superdraft is on the 16th, I think it said, if we look through here. Yeah, the 16th is the Superdraft. Some guys on international duty for a while as well. These players are apparently players we should be looking at. Wow, this is really intense, to be fair. It's like saying these guys are going to be more important in the draft now. People want these players. These players, no one's that interested in them anymore because they didn't play very well in the draft games. None of them look like very good players to actually sign for the first team. So I feel like these are more like players for the future. So we shouldn't really be too fussed about this. Either way, I'm going to take it seriously, okay? I'm going to just try and get the very best players in positions that we maybe still need, which is right wing to an extent. We could probably do it with another central midfielder and another defender because they're big positions that you always need players in. So we'll look to do something like that as the Super Draft comes around. We'll do the Super Draft and then we'll call today's episode here. I'll go and play the preseason bit, which goes against the live structure of this series. But I want to get straight into the MLS season next time around. I'll sort of build up the formations and see what happens, things like that. I think this is going to be good, all right? Into Miami, we are predicted to pick Steve Garner. But I'm not going to pick him because he'll be the 6th best attacking midfielder in the squad. We don't need another one there. So I don't know what that's about. But the Super Draft is here. We've got 4 picks, okay? And we are 2nd overall, which is great. So Minnesota go first. Okay. And then we're here. Okay, so they've picked Osvaldo Castro, who is actually a relatively decent attacking midfielder there. Now, can we scout transfer? Okay, right. Ability. Who's the best ability? They're all rubbish. All rubbish. All of them. Who's got the best potential? This guy, Diaz. On the right wing. Let's pick him, all right? We've picked Diaz. Have we picked him? Diaz? Yeah, we've picked Diaz. And now Minnesota go again, apparently, for some... I don't know. Either way, we're going to skip to our next pick, okay? I think a lot of players may have skipped. I don't know. But there's still quite a few players to pick. We've picked... Oh, okay, because when they say picked, they're still there. Like drafted. So we can't pick these guys. I was going to pick Calvo. He looked like the next best player to pick. Tom is the next best player after that. He's another right winger. But we've got a right winger already, haven't we, in Diaz. So we could probably get someone else. Amoa. Right. Why is everyone a right winger? This is because I've got the right winger thing selected. Oh, have I only scouted out right wingers then? Is this part of the issue here? Is anyone everyone has scouted out? Okay, that's fine. I panicked then thinking I've only scouted out right wingers. So actually we should have picked Brian Vickers, shouldn't we? Because he looks like the best potentials. My bad. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. Scott Beck, though, hasn't been picked yet. He is a left back. We could do with another left back, maybe. We've already got 3 in the draft so far. Let's get a third one, sorry. I can maybe do maths, can't I? Have we picked him? We've picked him. Skip to your next pick. Okay. All these players have been drafted apart from Gabriel Grantham, or Graham, sorry. He's an attacking midfielder, but we don't want him really, do we? Jose, he's a striker. How many strikers have we got at the club, actually? Too many. He'd be number 7 on the list, so we don't want him particularly. Let's not sort it by, let's sort it by current ability then instead. Caleb Godfrey's a left winger that we don't need. Roberts is a right winger, which we don't need. This guy's a left winger that we don't need. Can we just see some... In fact, I don't know why I've not done this before. Position, centre mid, okay. Chris Guzman is the next best player to pick him, a centre of midfield, just to add a bit of depth in there. Let's pick him out, draft him in. Chris, thank you. Skip to your next pick. We want a centre-back, don't we? Ideally, I'd say. Just get a centre-back into the club, just to add a little bit more strength and depth there. Let's search by recommendation. Who's not been? Theo is perhaps the best player to bring in. Just another centre-back in case we need another centre-back, just for like rotation. Pick him from the draft. There you go. You love to see it. Complete the draft, because I don't think we get any more picks. There we go. So what players have we brought into the squad then? So many trades. So many trades. I think we've probably missed all these because the draft... These are probably like trades going on in the middle of the draft, which I've completely missed. We now have to offer contracts to these players. Oh, why? That's just annoying. Right, let's just give them what they want, all right? Give them what they want. Okay, exactly what they want. We don't care. Finalise the deals. We're not going to be here for more than a season, are we? So I don't care what we pay them. Let's just get them into the squad and see what happens here. Brilliant. There we go. They've all got contracts. Let's see how good they are when they come through. I've probably done this all wrong. You're probably screaming at me through a screen right now saying you've got this all wrong. So we picked Guzman, who's 2-star, 2-star, 2. Okay. So no one's... This guy's got good potential, to be fair. If we were doing this for a few seasons, he'd be decent to have. But... none of them are very good. They're just sort of backup players, aren't they, at the moment? So, squad registration. Okay. This is something I'll do off camera because I need to work out who we've got, essentially, and which players we need to be using. We've got a 30-player squad limit, and I feel like we've got a lot more than 30 players in this squad. So I think a few of them will be moved into this MLS 2 side, into Miami 2, if we can ever find that somewhere. Development into Miami 2. Yeah, so we can move players to here, and that might help out a little bit with squad numbers. I don't know. Anyway, what I'm going to do is call it here for today's episode. I'm going to go and play some friendlies off camera, but we'll come back next episode, definitely for the Real Salt Lake game. We'll probably do Colorado as well, maybe Montreal Impact. We'll see how it goes, but next episode is the big one where we're going to start our MLS journey off properly. Today was just the drafts, and I've probably done it all wrong, but I hope it was interesting for you. If it wasn't, that's not great, is it? But thank you ever so much for watching today's video. If you can drop a like on the video for me, that would be absolutely fantastic. And subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, even more fantastic. I'd love you forever. So thank you ever so much. Have a good one. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.